So, the final part of systems lifecycle. Well, there's no final part because really it goes around and around and around. And evaluation and maintenance is, well, it's a little bit of an example of this. So when we're evaluating, we're working out what's gone well and how we can improve, or maybe what didn't go so well. When we're maintaining something, we're ensuring that it works. So these two kind of go hand in hand, and actually if we have a big enough issue, then we're going to have to start the whole process again, as in we're going to go back to analysing what the problem is, we're then going to design it, implement it, and again evaluate, make sure it's worked. So let's go into a bit more detail with this. Evaluating, well, really we're asking ourselves the question, does the program meet our user requirements? And we ask these questions in a couple of different ways. So first of all, we're going to give our users questionnaires. We're going to find out what went well, what could be even better, how can we improve our software that we've made for you? Is our program efficient? Does it run well? Does it run smoothly? Is it easy to understand? And we're going to ask our users for any suggestions. How can we improve? What do you think could be better? Maybe what we think is very simple because, you know, we're intelligent young people who completely understand anything technical, but maybe for our older generation, they don't understand it. So we're always asking for feedback here, and that really is what evaluating is. Then we move on to maintaining. Now there's 4 different types of maintenance: perfective, adaptive, preventative, corrective. They all have slightly different definitions, and they all would be applied at different times, and really you've just got to remember this. So perfective means that there's not really anything wrong with the system, but what we want to do is we might want to incorporate some new modern technologies to try and keep it fresh, really. We're trying to perfect it, always keeping it updated. There's nothing wrong with it, we just want it to be a bit better. Adaptive, so this is kind of, we're changing internal structures to try and match up to maybe new hardware or we just want to keep our system a little bit more efficient or up to modern standards. We're trying to adapt our system to fit the current climate. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with our program, we're just trying to make it we're trying to push it in to try and make it fit in with the new sort of environment, or maybe technologies move forward a little bit and we just want to adapt it so that it still works. Preventative, this is where we're trying to think ahead. We're thinking what problems could come up, or let's say we've got our hardware in a room and it's getting really hot. We might just put aircon in to try and make sure that our hardware doesn't get too hot and crash. These are all just predicting problems. We're not responding to a problem, we're trying to prevent it from possibly happening in the future. Anyone who works in IT will tell you that this is the only way you can work in IT support. It's how I used to do it when I worked in IT support. You're trying to predict problems and you're trying to prevent them. It's called preventative response rather than reactive, which leads us nicely to the last one, corrective, or as I used to call it, reactive. But if something breaks, we respond to it and we fix it. If we get an error, we respond to it and we fix it. If we get a virus, we respond to it and fix it. That's it really. So there's 4 different ways. They're all slightly different, but again, effect. A question is due on this topic. We've not had a question on this topic since 2017. One came up in the spec for 2020. I'm not saying that means it's going to come up or anything, but definitely make sure you know this area. So let's have a quick look at what I've got you guys to do. Very, very simple, short outline of the 4 types of maintenance. Keep it really, really simple. The words kind of give away what they should be, so we just need to remember an example, or we need to remember a definition. You might have seen my cat there. So this is a past paper question taken from the spec paper 20. If you've done other parts of systems lifecycle, you'll recognise this part here. You go, oh, I've seen that before. So really what we're looking at is this last little bit. Describe two other types of maintenance and suggest reasons why they would be needed in this scenario. Basically, a question's probably going to say, what's the best type of method? Or, we've used this method, why might these methods help as well? And you would just need to be able to apply your definition to a scenario. You can kind of see the pattern that happens the whole way through systems lifecycle. They're just going to be talking about, here's a scenario, which one of these is best for that scenario, which seems to be the way for systems lifecycle. other than that, guys, that is pretty much systems lifecycle in a nutshell. It's kind of simple, it's all knowledge based, so you just need to remember it, and usually you're given a scenario and you apply your knowledge to that scenario, or as we call it, AO2. Okay, other than that, guys, let me know if you have any questions or anything, but you can get on with those questions. Bye.